Since the founding of America, a human factory nature breaching method was demonstrated to us Americans. But right where those demonstrations were and are, we can observe how they are replaced. Nature's very communications to us. We have black people's white divide, and that is inseparable from subjects like slavery. But we have had it separated. We have had self-valued roles of the experts of the names of the people of the sciences, like of American history. Self-valued, communicating other for nature and for what our founders communicated. Our founders declassified about how and about why they did not have free speech. Instead, everyone has stayed self-valued roles with uses of our founders' words, with that left out, and then stayed, worse than obfuscated and held back by the breaching method, and so we could measure and maintain self-valued roles, replacing it with the rest of that which is published, with the uses of our word, our founders of our words, and just they go off with delusions and criminally foreign influence, back human nature, quality aspects of nature. The news has identity thefts, frauds, and slanders as their collusion slash S with use of location by the slash S by the breaching method. Uses of location slash S everywhere the species body has a body standing. The campuses and the exceptions are abridged. And then modern religious messages were born. Already we had been separated from what nature had revealed with and for humanity before the sciences became criminally foreign influenced slash hyper criminally foreign influenced, because there are proofs because of what is actually recorded now that names A through Z were forced, tricked, hurt, and persuaded to respond to things that a hyper foreign criminal enterprise caused. I'm not a lawyer. I recorded lawyers, and as you could observe, nature shows us lawyers, all sides of criminal and civil cases, their sources, the interbranch names, the differences of their guilt, overt criminal enterprises, private ones, or terrorists. That also was employed by the breaching method and sustained roles with it. And then America's founders were born. And then George Washington sailed the ocean blue. Already names A through Z were fighting with names A through Z and defending that rightly, but blaming on other things, others ourselves, the breaching method's roles with it, and blaming it wrongly, because everyone was right to need to counter the breaching method, but everyone was and is doing it wrong. That's why wrongly. That's why we have in America, in Russia and Ukraine, the suburbs that look exactly alike, even though the colonists who were tortured, extorted, and enslaved, fact, human nature, distinctly non-distinctly too, northern colonies and southern colonies. They had the homes designed for the design before America's founders were born. They had laws, internationally monitored conversations that were collusions with overt criminal enterprises, private ones, and terrorists. When did that stop? When did an honest voice speak for the suburbs? They have not. When you guys debate this inside your quality of fact treatment nature and as it overall, it is criminal and ceaseless nature of positive treatments and negative treatments and names and identities treatments, identity of value / valuable aggression treatments as an identity of hyperrelativity that there is. We are shown that it is not our species body that invented how there were all these other species bodies, and they have quality aspects of nature distinct, but also non-distinct, and simultaneously, but also per that further hyper-simultaneous, a further distinct identity of simultaneous nature, a further distinct, while non-distinct, identity of value / value progression, that all things are, even if they are made up. This hypervolume science is inseparable from the order of the finite. Not by any way, but distinctly from how it is the same. Distinctly, non-distinctly, and simultaneous / hyper simultaneous, the order of what is grouped or active, and the simultaneous. Everything is about how there is a further distinct identity of simultaneous nature. So the news attached me to fake conversations with themselves as their collusions at all natures of crime scenes and next to campuses, and with all natures of investigators. The courts never stopped being about and in collusions with what keeps them incapable of affording to be discerned, affording to be, let alone to protract, short words proper regarding how and why there is a witch trials place next to Webb House, now renamed the Webb Stevens Museum. This is one of the places that George Washington had to come to counter extort, to force the rest of the founders, both colonists and Native Americans, to counter the only way that was possible. They're already entrenched in northern colonies and southern colonies. Breaching method that had complete remote possession of everyone through everyone else still. So if anyone would let go of their roles, even they would start being censored by their own for the breaching method. That has been hyper sophistication since before at countries A through Z, blaming and having blamed since before their foundings and right through foundings. That's one of the things we could observe. Why and how our founders told communicated for us. They declassified. They wanted nothing to do with slavery. No one had roles to unentrench that. And we don't still because they're stealing on changing our words. The news refuses to hear us unless they're going to change and fake what we say. And they get away with it because they're self-following collusions with predicate acts with facts at every campus you ever went to. Now, I'm not allowed to tell on that until I can tell on the ones against me first. As ones involved with the World Trade Center attack, too. The news is increasingly faking and changing things and having them vetted by people involved with them dishonest. They're dishonest about Connecticut's Channel 3 News is increasingly recording, confessing, and demonstrating their roles with the intelligence at their location and next to their location. Also with military families that know my name, I don't know their name, and next to the state capitol, involved with the Violet family, a Colot family, and others that were involved with two times I had a cooking class in high school, and the people that were in that class were involved both with predicate acts on my street through other people and their roles with Elm Streets in Rocky Hill and Wethersfield. With people on my street increasingly involved with the Wethersfield police with confessions and fake conversations with me at the Wethersfield police station as a kid, now as an adult. These are some Mendez police that are recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed, also with a Joe DeMoro and his girlfriend involved with home break-ins in the area with him and with other people, and their roles with people along Church Street in Old Wethersfield with the same house named Cololo, and people tied to them with judges and prosecutors also with that street, and people with the name Bajerio, also further with sexual and medical offenders of kids' roles, and with the courts, judges, and prosecutors putting fake things in databases and their kids' collusions at the same time with overt criminal enterprises and private ones. As Jeremy Grohl said, it's his roles too with the intelligence community, with people at the corner of Fairlane Drive and Griswold Street involved with shipping locations. I also know there are people involved with shopping centers. And he's involved with people with wire crimes and the police that had conversations with me as a kid, now as an adult. They have roles with people on up the state corrections offices and judicial branch offices in all ages and natures of campuses, including medical campuses and fire campuses. It's concentrated as Hartford Hospital's roles with the World Trade Center attack, and then through the wars as collusions to cover that up with the military and the FBI and state police. Whiting Forensics has a bunch of people involved. The Bridge Superior Court and Whiting Forensics has the Facebook page of Wethersfield campuses involved with sexual and medical offenders with the Joshua Julian too, involved with people on my street with him that recorded and confessed, demonstrated, confirmed him involved. And the Wethersfield police did. And they have police chiefs retired and their family members and intimate ties. Increasingly people tied to a Mazzucato bakery. And like with a Mike Roberts has roles too with people with motorcycles with the intelligence community and people with sound view that have been planting evidences and databases between campuses I went to And more people at Trinity College have a Joshua Stryker who've been pretending fake things in databases about me and about others as people interstates involved with identity theft, fraud, slanders with a Joshua Stryker and his educators, putting fake ties, fake natures of ties to me, involved with people at the same time with murders, intercities, and untimely deaths, including one at Trinity College, even if it was made up. I don't think it was made up, though. People on my street had roles with that. People from other people like a Robert Rodriguez from another area came on my street and made confessions to me about that. I didn't respond to him. 2 times he tried to make it look like he was tied to me on my street. And then, as ones involved with the World Trade Center attack and people involved with the name Scalora, a whole bunch of people with the intelligence at Central Connecticut State University. They have a Parker English who put fake things, change things, delusions wrong. We have the delusions of the mental health care experts that have. That's part of the reason why and how we have black people's rights of eyes, and even though it's inseparable from the subject of slavery, it has been stayed left out. They have left our founders. They say, "Oh, our founders own slaves." They have obligations as the identities of law, the identities of the people of sciences, to explain how and why our founders did not want anyone to have roles with slavery. They had to force our other founders to have no ways to defend themselves, but to make up fake things against the crazy laws that were entrenched. Collusion /S with overt criminal enterprises, private ones, and terrorists. Who denies that will have inherent to, active to, and progressive to their logic demonstration /S of the same thing /S. That's also one of the reasons they can't help but to switch names into branch. They have roles with identity theft, fraud, slanders. That's also one of the things that it's about, even leaving out black people's rights of eyes from such serious subjects. So James Madison, before he was a president, he was our founder, and the one we were directed to understand. His plan was used by James Madison, and we're supposed to understand that plan. You can't explain the Monroe Doctrine. You can't explain Andrew Jackson properly if you can't explain James Madison. Our founders communicated to us plurally to understand him as him singular, because they knew everyone would be fakes pretending about George Washington to caring for him fake, and counters to him fake, as a collusion with the array, sensing for the breaching method too. George Washington was counter-extorted by James Madison's plan. Everyone had to have roles with slavery until James Madison's plan. Except George Washington agreed to use that plan. We don't know how fully. And we know that where it wasn't fully too, it wasn't James Madison's fault. No one had free speech. Everyone had to pretend other to an extent. Otherwise, that body was sentenced. Otherwise, including it was a majority of people, including it was everyone. These are things that are not debatable. The only reason they appear to be debatable is because of what I caught them doing with the campuses of that at the same time with the news and the interbranch. So they keep the wrong fake outcomes. They're using databases the same way the breaching method used them before computers. And now hyper additionally for more apparent and even the real motivations. That's usually hide behind and through. Facebook also has people with an advertisement. One of them looked just like a Celeste Wells. I don't know her at all. She's one of the ones I know recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed, involved with federal evidences, crimes with foreign and domestic bodies, including overt criminal enterprises and private ones, and her roles with databases with predicate acts. In other words, I never had a class with her. I never saw her in my life. She tried to make a big exception with and lying about her motivations, even the true motivations used for lies. And people putting fake ties, fake nature ties, and sequence ships on my street with a Ray Collo increasingly involved, and his extended family members put fake ties, fake natures of ties to me behind my back, where their roles with the intelligence community uses a right to lie where they don't have the right to lie. Increasingly, people with a Victorian house on 2-route highway have roles with federal evidences, crimes with children, with sexual and medical people, on offenders of kids involved with the corrections offices of Connecticut and the state judicial branch offices, involved with all kinds of federal evidences crime methods, including wire crime methods, as with the police and the people that answer the phones for the news people. They're changing and faking what's recorded over the phones with the news people, and they're hiding all kinds of natures of organized crimes they have roles with. And then they're doing that by using all that they have to report onto. The breaching method shows them they need to. The breaching method has roles with all kinds of insidious positive connections between people and insidious negative connections between people. And people can't even discern that because you have all kinds of predators with the schools, including with mental health. There are a bunch of doctors that fake conversations with me and they forge names of other doctors, apparently, too. And then demonstrably, as it rolls with all kinds of scams at Hartford Hospital, with houses near me. And it's nothing personal. They brought it up. No, but these are confessions of the police over the phone, too, with wire crime action methods. Then to cover up they have even fake phone transcripts. They have multiple police forms and agencies and interbranch family members of all ages and of all levels. Like there's people tied to I forgot his name, but even senators involved. In other words, and mayors and their family members, increasingly a former Mayor Gold and one before him, one with a wife named Ruth, is increasingly involved with people named DeMorrow, involved with and Scalora with my neighbor, with the people who had almost a home break-ins years ago, people involved with the fire departments and foreign and domestic military. Subby Scalora repeated things about his sexual roles with I forgot her name. I don't even know her. I never even got to meet her. Anyway, and Jennifer Sosha and Jim Sosha will tell you I don't even know them. A Spada family has roles with some judges and prosecutors who made it look like I'm tied to a Ray Reynolds and an Eric Jensen at the house of a Jennifer. I don't know her maiden name. But these are people with Central Connecticut State University that recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed the Spada family is involved with the Ray Colal and the Joe DeMora, planting evidences also with people with Weathersfield Pizza House who have wire crimes and Weathersfield police. I don't know what they said to them yet. They're also putting fake ties and fake natures of ties to me through time, with people tied to Weathersfield Pizza House, involved with sexual and medical offenders, and names that and next to Trinity College and Central Connecticut State University they had time collusions with, as the ones involved with the campuses of Weathersfield, Connecticut through time, involved with sequence shifts and predicate acts with them, identity theft, fraud, slanders. A bunch of people at Trinity College recorded, confessed, demonstrated too, confirmed too. They have roles with names on my street and people from other areas tied to them who planted evidences there and at my house, and with this Joshua Stryker, who's involved with sequence shifts and fake ties, fake natures of ties to me behind my back. This is relative where they won't get on paper, and they're switching names into branch. They have New Britain Superior Courts families before the World Trade Center attack. They recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed people in their intimate ties, also with the Hartford courts. They have roles with a former director of the FBI and people involved with his deposition on all sides of that case, and people associated with that were planting evidence at West Hartford locations. A whole bunch of people tied to a Joseph Dennis and a John Dennis involved with sequence shifts and child abuses and identity theft, fraud, slanders, all natures of investigations, investigators being and having been used remotely, criminally, foreign influence, tactically, delusions raw, all along Route 175 from the founding locations. DeMorrow's ones with the names Shumack too, a family of a mother of a Joshua Shumack and a Shumack. I don't even know what school he went to. They're planting evidences and fake ties, fake natures of ties to me with some black KKK Confederate flag team and proven child abusers, leaders of kids years apart. And they have the Facebook pages of the Weathersfield Police and of New Britain Superior Court, involved also with WFSB's Facebook page, with their fake conversations with me, leaking to know, and with Fox as the ones next to Fox Connecticut News too, as ones next to the state capitol, and increasingly these are the sources at the same time of WTNH that have been planting fake things and stories through the news and roles with investigators with collusions with all natures of crime scenes and other names, roles, including a whole bunch of different countries at the same time involved intercities. That's where they take people's Facebook pages. There are a whole bunch of connections between unconnected crimes where there's a breaching method involved. There are other names like involved. On a mass scale, they're leaking about how they have and demonstrating how they have all these different countries involved with Central Connecticut State University and New Britain, Connecticut, and their extended family members of the other people from other countries are also with the extended family members of the people that used to live near me and the people that still live near me involved. And you know what? They're fishing to cover up how they go. Oh, that's that person spelled that, and then just fake things. They won't even let people speak at courts since I was a kid, so they could stick more fake things in databases as collusions. Increasingly, people from other areas came to my street to confess roles with federal evidences crimes people and their educators behind my back on my street with the houses involved with the police making confessions like with the name Colo and people tied to the Smith family. In other words. So get them on paper, one name in sequence, please. In other words, there's people that Ludacris was looking at when he came to a concert at Trinity College. A Joshua Stryker put me in fake and changed communications with those people. Has something to do with people at the 3 spots at the end of the Berlin Turnpike involved with the intelligence community, criminally foreign influence, tactically delusions raw. People with the name Perron, Violet, and Kerr. I don't know the rest of the. I've never seen Kerr there. But those are people involved with the Violet and Perron and Jamie Caron. Perron is different than Caron, but Jamie Caron and Kevin Caron and a Mark Caron. A Kevin Caron and a Mark Caron have intelligence at Central Connecticut State University. That recorded confess demonstrate. One time they jumped me in the woods, and I was set up for that. That's the only time. I don't even know, and they didn't even know who I was. I didn't know who they were. And that was over. It was it. I didn't nothing personal with that. But so now they're trying to pretend passions, emotions from backgrounds. They have roles with 3 spots. They have roles next to the state capitol with some state police and FBI and leaders of the kids that recorded confession, including a Dean operated kid, has them involved with some identity theft, fraud, slanders, federal evidences crimes with them. Also with former director of the FBI, Robert Luskin, former standing chairperson on the Racketeering Influence and Corrupt Organizations Act, also criminally foreign influence of people seating juries, also as the medical community with all kinds of fake things and organized crimes with their databases, with people tied to the Diddy church, the Sean Puppy Combs trial since before it was coming, and their roles as with the World Trade Center attack cover-ups. New York City has all kinds of collusions with CBS, Fox News, etc. The sources of them, including their source, the difference of their guilt or the sources of them. They have wire crime acts and methods with their phones at Fox Connecticut News, WFSB, and I haven't tried to call WTNH yet because their sources are involved. That's enough. In other words, and the FBI next to them has rules with wire crime acts and methods and relative delusions. The FBI has delusions too. And so they can't be trusted too, because Wethersfield police attached me to fake conversations with them at the police station wasn't at all. And then as an adult wasn't at all. And those are people increasingly involved with the Saudi attackers and the identity racketeering, difference racketeering, worse than war crimes. Black pupils. Is Diddy in the military? Because there are more military with some black KKK Confederate flag theme with this Mark Violet, who sought me out as a confession to make confessions as a stranger from other. And then I found out he was tied to the clothes. He sought me out alone with a Justin Gobinsky, so I didn't know him either. I never had them in in a class. I never saw them around schools. They tried to make a fake exception one time each. In other words, from a distance, now it shows the same thing. They're planting evidences. Identity theft, fraud, slanders, interbranch forging and switching names. Furthermore, while recorded them forcing worse than they put the principal upskirt nature in prison for. You better get the campuses on paper too. They're attaching me to more kids with the schools too. Fake conversations really do. They attach everyone to fake ties, fake nature ties to everyone. Some of the parents jump in. They're in